right, so on behalf of the City of Independence and the Chamber of Commerce, welcome back to First Friday with sound. We're gathered here this afternoon because the governor's order says we have to be in groups of 10 or less, so we're doing live streaming of First Friday as we did last month. And we have lots of great speakers today. You don't have probably a flyer in front of you because we're live streaming. So I'm going to tell you who's going to speak. We have Kelly Passeur. She's our interim city manager. We have the director of Main Street, Tabitha Snodgrass. We have our mayor, Leonard Kaflish, and our state representative, Jim Kelly. All four of them will be presenting this afternoon during First Friday. I would like to thank Larry McHugh. He is the man behind the camera with McHugh Video Productions. He's doing all the filming and the live streaming for us, so we appreciate him helping us out today. We're going to give you a little community update, tell you what's been going on the last month or so, and then we'll move into our speakers. Last 7 weeks, we have been meeting every morning on a conference call with about 18 of our city leaders, working to figure out a way that we can move through in a successful manner through COVID-19 and the pandemic. And we've been working very, very hard every morning. We've been tapping into each other's gifts and talents. We've been supporting each other when some of us are down and worried and concerned. Others are lifting us up, and then we turn around and lift each other up. So it's been a real team effort, and I want to tell you who's been on that team because it's important that you know who's really working to help us navigate these dark, uncharted waters for the City of Independence. We'll start out with David Cowan. He's in charge of he's our emergency director. Kelly Passeur, our interim city manager. Jerry Harrison, our chief of police, and Sean Wallace, our our fire chief. Mike Passeur, who's in charge of all of our public works. Terry Leibarger is in charge of our utilities. Barb Burskins is in charge of all of our parks. And Lacey Lease is our finance director, along with April Nutt, who is our housing authority director. The MAC director, Tricia Purdon, always jumps on the call as well. I'm on the call from the Chamber of Commerce. Tabitha is on the call representing Main Street. Joanne Smith, who is with Fab Creative Services, she works to do all of the communications for the City of Independence. She is also the creator of the city newsletter that you have all received. So we appreciate all of her work. And then the library has their director, Jerry Hopkins, on the call. We also have USD 446 on the call. We have our superintendent, Rusty Arnold, and our finance director, Fred Meyer. We have, without fail, our emergency room director, Becky Mitchell from Labette Health. She is always on the call with us, keeping us up to date on COVID-19. Our mayor, Leonard Kaflish, is always online, as well as our state representative, Jim Kelly. So we appreciate everyone's support, and I just wanted you to know who those people are that get on the phone every morning at 9 o'clock, and like I said, we try to unpack what's going on in the nation, in the state, in the county, and in our community. We've been keeping in close contact with all of our major manufacturers, our small businesses, as we're helping them navigate this situation that they find themselves in. Our restaurants, our retailers. Tabitha and I have been meeting with our restaurants and retailers right now. Jim's going to be talking about the governor's orders and how that's going to be affecting all of us. And so we've been meeting with them, helping to answer questions and make plans to reopen next week. The city has also been working to help small businesses in any way they can, and one demonstration of that is through the grant funding that they rolled out. You may or may not know, but they rolled out some emergency grant funding for our small businesses, and they awarded 71 grants. They were $5,000 grants that totaled $355,000, and that was through the relationship and partnership with the Economic Development Advisory Board and our City Commission, and we truly appreciate their efforts. That's not happening in all small communities. That's not even happening in large communities in many places. So Independence is very fortunate that we have our city and our advisory board working to help our small businesses. And again, we've been meeting with our restaurants and retailers, as I mentioned before, getting them all ready to open next week. Love Independence happened last week. We're going to switch gears and talk about some love. Love Independence happened last week, and though it wasn't the Love Independence I had planned for when I thought we were going to have our 5-year anniversary with all of our housing projects and everything else that typically happens, but it was a great weekend nonetheless. Lots of great things were shown, lots of love was shown, and we captured it on our Facebook page, Love Independence. So I encourage you to grab your phone, go like our page, Love Independence, and when you see things continue to happen in our community that are demonstrations of positivity and love, be sure and tag us, and then we'll share it, because we need that constant reminder that in the midst of a lot of negative situations that we can't control many times, there's a lot of really good that is happening out there. We want to focus on that. So make sure you're checking out our Facebook page. And when we talk about sharing the love, last night I was on my Facebook page and I saw that CJ Threads even demonstrated some love. I think yesterday they were out handing out T-shirts to all of our essential workers, showing them some love. So that's an example of something that we'll go out and we'll share that, and you'll continue to see us sharing positivity and love in the community. We're going to share some love to some other individuals. We had a call one morning, and we were talking about our seniors and how they're missing out on all of the end-of-the-year events that they look forward to their entire, educational time. And how could we show them some love? And one of the people, I can't remember now, who had the great idea of putting all of their pictures in the city newsletter. And so the city paid a little extra to have 4 color pages of our high school seniors listed in our city newsletter. And that was one demonstration of showing them, some extra love, that we as a community value them, and we're happy for them, and we congratulate them. And then someone said, hey, what about a digital component? And could we do a slideshow? And that got on my list of things to do. And so I called my sister. She's a high school English teacher. She's the yearbook teacher. She has all the senior pictures. And I said, hey, could you get those pictures to Joanne so she can put them in the newsletter? And then I need them so we can put together a slideshow to put on our Facebook page. And she said, absolutely. She helped Joanne out. And she said, let me do the slideshow. I want to put that together. So this afternoon, my sister, Kelly Cox, who I said is a teacher at the high school, came into the office. She loaded it up on our YouTube page. We posted it, and there is now a video out with all of the high school seniors' pictures on the video. So please, when you see that, comment, share, and let's make sure that we show our high school seniors how proud we are of them. And again, I thank my sister for helping me with that. Speaking of kids, these high school seniors, they might enroll in college or tech school or move on, but other kids need to enroll in school. And the 446 wants me to remind all of you to register your kids. They're having a little special. So if you get your kids registered for school by May the 15th, you get your name in for a drawing for several $20 Main Street gift certificates. So it's a great way. You got to register them anyway. So it's a great way to get them registered for school and support our local economy. So be sure and get your kids registered. You go to indieschools.com, obviously. You click on the online registration, obviously. Get them all signed up, and as soon as you get them signed up, you're automatically put into the drawing for all of the Main Street gift certificates. So great way to shop local and get that off your list of things to do. Speaking of shop local, we want to remind everyone, if you don't already know, that our sales tax was up 23.6%. That was the April report, and those are numbers that are reflective from February sales year over year. So we're moving in the right direction. We've been moving in the right direction for some time now, but now more than ever, it's just real important that we focus on shopping local. When you buy a car, don't go to the city and buy those cars. Shop local if you can. Even if you don't think they carry it, go find out if they carry it. They can get cars from other communities and other states and bring cars in. So do your best to shop local. Keep our dollars here. You're looking for a refrigerator, a stove, big appliances, and you think, I can't get it in Independence. You can, possibly. So at least ask before you make those big ticket purchases, as well as when you're eating and when you're shopping at all of our downtown stores, our small businesses, and our large businesses. Work really hard right now to give back, because those are the individuals and businesses that have been giving to all of us. They give to the chamber when we have our events. They give to Main Street when they have their events. They're giving to the school system. They're giving to parks and recreation. They're giving all the time, and it's important now that we give back when we can. Next week is Teacher Appreciation, so that's a great way to give back. Go buy all your teacher appreciation gifts in Independence. Let's talk food real quick. I'm speaking to people, if you know of somebody who is maybe in need of some food right now. A lot of people are out of work. They need food. We want to make sure that we make people aware of some possibilities. The Community Access Center is one place that you can go to receive food. It's at 307 and a half West Pecan. Their phone number is 331-5115. Right now, they have emergency boxes that have about a week's worth of meals in them per person. So if you have a family of 3, you can call up and they will provide 3 boxes for your family. There is no income requirement. So please, if you need food, do not think that you have to meet some kind of income guideline. Just call them, get signed up, and they will help you out. They also have their regular food pantry that you can receive food through, so please check that out. And if you know of somebody who needs food, point them in the Community Access Center's direction. A lot of people have given to the Access Center's food pantry. I can list off about 7 businesses right now that have donated over $11,000 to the food pantry right now in the middle of this pandemic. Textron even donated $10,000 from just Textron to the Kansas Food Bank. So there's a lot of really generous contributions being made to keep those shelves full of food during these hard times. The First United Methodist Church on Saturday is having meals to go. It's a first-come, first-served basis from 12 to 1. If you need a hot meal, show up, and they're putting food out every Saturday until it runs out. So be sure and check that out, because we know that Open Arms Diner is not available right now through the Christian Church. The Baptist Church serves a meal on Wednesday. It's not available. And the Cuff meals on Thursday are not available. So a lot of people are missing out on those opportunities. So please make people aware of the opportunity at the church on Saturday. The First United Methodist Church also has a community delivery service I need for everybody to know about. It is, you call in, and if you are a senior citizen or a homebound person and you need your groceries brought to you or your prescriptions, you can call this number and 331-0719. They will take your order, make payment arrangements, and they will get those things to you. They report in that they have purchased over $1,700 in groceries and prescriptions so far. They've made 120 trips to the grocery store and the pharmacy. They have volunteers of about 22 that are working hard to man this system. So we appreciate all the efforts that they are putting forth to help our seniors and our homebound individuals. I want to make sure everybody knows about our storm shelters. We had a little storm come up. Everybody needs to know where to go to stay safe. You can come to the Memorial Hall right here in the Civic Center. You can go to the high school gymnasium, the Judicial Center, and Temporary City Hall at 811 West Laurel. And those locations and the addresses are on our website. It's on the city website as well. Take advantage of the cleanup opportunities. Weather is nice, so get out and clean up. The sanitation yard is open 7 days a week, and from 8 to 2, you can drop off all your large debris, your junk, your recyclables, at tires, just not those big ones, just your car tires. Get rid of everything. If you have hazardous materials, pesticides, paint, things like that, they need to go to the county barn, and that will be available it's the third Wednesday, so I think that's May the 20th will be the next time that that's available. So check that out and get Independence looking pretty spiffy, clean it all up. Watch the library's Facebook page. They're having lots of virtual events. They have a lot of things even during the pandemic going on, so check that out. Keep an eye out for Love Independence 2.0, and that will be our housing projects later in the summer. And I'm happy to announce that right now, if we keep our fingers crossed, Kansas Airstrip Attack is coming to Independence at a rescheduled date of July 18th and 19th. That's a half-mile drag races out at the airport, high-end high-performance exotic cars such as Lamborghinis and Porsches and all kinds of fancy cars. So you want to make sure that you watch our Facebook page for that. And speaking of Facebook pages, we want to make sure that you're watching Indy Responds. That's a Facebook page where you can get a lot of really good, accurate information about what's happening regarding COVID-19. And finally, on behalf of the City of Independence, the Montgomery County Action Council, the Chamber, and Main Street, we want to thank our frontline workers. We want to thank our police, our fire, our EMS, and our dispatch. We want to thank our healthcare providers who are taking care of the elderly and the sick. We We want to thank those who are stocking all of our grocery stores and our convenience stores. We want to thank those who are bringing our mail and our packages to us. We want to thank the city workers who have continued to provide city services during the pandemic. We want to thank the bank tellers. We want to thank those who are delivering food to us curbside. We want to thank the food service at 446 for feeding over 1,000 kids every day since school has been out. We want to thank our banks for helping our small businesses fill out those loan applications for the PPP and the EIDL and other loan programs. We want to thank our teachers and our parents who have turned into teachers. And we want to say thank you to all of them for everything that they have done as we have moved through COVID-19. And we want to say congratulations to our high school seniors and wish them the best. When we all work together and support each other, we become a more unified community, and that is exactly what Independence is. So with that, I'm going to start our speakers, and I would like to welcome our first speaker to the podium. She is our interim city manager, Kelly Passeur, who is going to talk to us about the importance of the 2020 U.S. Census. Please welcome Kelly. And we clap.
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate the opportunity to address you. I do want to say a thank you to you, Lisa, because you are doing an amazing job as Independence's cheerleader, arranging all of this, participating in all of our events. You thank everybody else, but I think we need to thank you. So just want to say I appreciate all of that. I want to talk to you today about the census. Why does the census matter to our state and community? It determines federal funding to states and communities by population data. Responses are used to redraw legislative districts and determine the number of seats our state has in the U.S. House of Representatives. And responding is a civic responsibility of everyone and is mandated by the U.S. Constitution. For every household in Independence that is missed in the census count, our community loses approximately $47,886. That's $478,860 for every 10 households missed. That's almost $500,000, a lot of money. In 2010, our population count was 9,483. However, the response percentage was about 70%. So those that did not respond represent approximately 870 households. If 870 households do not respond and are not counted in the 2020 census, Independence could lose over $41 million. That is a lot of money. And that's federal funds that could have been available to help our citizens with various social programs and needed critical infrastructure. And some examples of those would be veterans programs, Medicaid, Medicare, Head Start, child care grants, public infrastructure grants such as ADA, highway improvements, water sewer system, airport enhancements, community facilities, loans, foster care, adoption assistance. There's a whole list of things, and that's just money that we could lose out on if the census is not responded to. With our current situation, that response could not be more critical. After the 2008 recession, it took the city over 10 years to recoup the sales tax levels to the level they were in 2008, not taking into consideration inflation. So we don't know how long this recovery period is going to be with our present pandemic, but if it's a long time, we really need those dollars. And if it's just a matter of filling out your census and turning that in, why would we want to leave that money on the table and lose that money? I mean, that's a lot of money. So how do you fill out the census? You can do it online using a computer, tablet, or smartphone. You should have gotten a card from the Census Bureau. It's where you lived on April 1st. And you can also do it over the phone with the census through the Census call center, or you can also fill out the paper form. And if you don't do any of those, then at some point in time, I don't know when because they've delayed some things, but there will be people walking or knocking on doors to see census takers to do that manually. So it would be, if you could possibly do it online, that would be great. Also, we want to make this a little bit more interesting. We would like to challenge the other cities in Montgomery County to a contest to who has the highest response rates. So as of today, The response rate for Caney is 51.9%, Cherryville's 52.9%, and Coffeyville is 47.1%. Independence's current response rate is 53.8%, so we are already winning, but we want to keep that up. So encourage everybody you know to fill out the census if they have not done so. Tell your friends, your neighbors, relatives, anybody, fill out the census. It's going to benefit all of us, and it's vitally important, more important now than it ever was. And thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. And as you mentioned, you know, when Independence wins, because we will, but we all win in the county when we all work together. So we definitely, some friendly competition will result in some good things. Are we okay, Jim, with the time? And we started again. Do you want to jump in, or do you want to still stay in your spot? Okay.
Need to get to that call at 3:30.
Okay, all right. We're going to continue on. And I also did not mention that if you have questions, you can type those questions in on Facebook Live. Kelly's going to be monitoring the questions, and we'll be fielding those as we move through our speakers. So with that, we're ready for our second speaker. She is the Executive Director of Independence Main Street, working hard to promote all of the amazing programs in downtown Independence. Please welcome Tabitha Snodgrass.
Thank you, Lisa. As Lisa said, I'm Tabitha Snodgrass, and I get the honor and the privilege of having the best job in Independence. And I think that's the only thing Lisa and I may disagree on is she thinks she does, and I think I do. But, you know, it's a friendly thing. So, first of all, I want to talk to you guys about what a wonderful community we live in. And we are surrounded by some of the best small business owners that this country has. They are amazing. As Lisa said earlier, everybody goes in their doors day after day, person after person, asking for a donation. And so right now, it is so important, even with their doors shut, that you find a way to support those businesses, not just downtown, but all the small businesses in and around Independence. We can't stress that enough. You know, someone may not make it out of this, and we definitely don't want it to be that we weren't there trying to support them. So please do what you can there. When this all started, I had a board meeting, and we talked about what can we do to help our small businesses in Independence. Someone, I can't remember who sent it to me, but they said, I saw this somewhere else where you're given a receipt and you take it in, and the chamber, in this instance, gave back some chamber bucks. And it was $5 per every 50 you spent. And I was like, gosh, that's a lot of money. And we're a small organization, but I thought, you know, I'll take it to my board. So I did. And one of our board members said, you know what, I think we should double that. They said, let's do $10 back in Main Street dollars for every 50 you spend. And I was like, oh, okay, well, where's that money coming from? And so last year in 2019, our board of directors sat down and we came up with a list of stuff that we wanted to do to enhance our downtown. Flower, hanging baskets, flower pots, new Christmas decor, shopping downtown, seating downtown where you can eat outside. We wanted new banners, a community Christmas tree, and we knew that we didn't have the funds to do all that stuff, but we knew we could do it in small amounts. So we went before the city commission and asked them for an additional $5,000 per year. And after some budgeting and I'm sure going back and forth, they did grant us that. And so that was in our budget for this year. And so immediately someone said, you know what, let's take that $5,000 that we hadn't planned on and give it back. So we called it the Main Street Gives Back Incentive Program. And so we did just that. We gave $10 back for every $50 you spent in a small business. So I think that started, let me look here, March 27th, and within 2.5 weeks, we were completely out of the $5,000 that we allotted for that. It went over amazingly. And with that $5,000 that we gave back in Main Street dollars, that helps, you know, stays right here in our community also. But with that, I didn't just have receipts turned in, you know, for $200 and $300. It was thousands of dollars. And so that total came to just under $38,000, and then we reimbursed the $5,000. And then that doesn't include all the receipts I've gotten since then. I just had somebody walked in here today, was like, oh, I have my receipts for you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, we're out of money. So with that being said, we are looking for other ways to do this again. we're trying to maybe do, I don't really want to say a fundraiser, but I do, as this time around, it is a united front with the city, the chamber, MAC, and Main Street. So we've came up with this little design, and I'll put it on Facebook later today, and I don't know if Larry can zoom in on it here, but it's Indy United, and it's a t-shirt, and I think we may also get a shopping bag for it. Somebody talked about a hat. So we're going to come up with a few different products and all those proceeds will go into our Indy Gives Back, and so we can start the receipt program again. Hopefully within the next couple weeks we can do that because, like I say, all those funds have to be spent at a locally owned and operated business, and then the Main Street dollars are also spent in those businesses. So there might be a little incentive in there to get you to go into the stores that have had to have their doors shut manually, not manually, but had to have them without, they didn't have a choice. They shut down. The retailers such as, I'm just off the top of my head, Cantrell's, our boutiques, Magnolia, those that didn't have a choice. So there may be a little special incentive in there if you are supporting those. We haven't worked out all the details yet, but we are definitely working on it. So look for our items to be out on Facebook soon that you can help purchase because all the proceeds, again, will go into that fund. Which brings me to the Main Street dollars. So next week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and we wanted to put a bug in your ear. When you buy a Main Street gift certificate, that is like cash to the retailers. They turn those in, and we do not take any profit off of those. We turn around, they call me, say Terry Trout calls me at Annie Mae's and says, I've got $200 worth of Main Street gift certificates. I write him a check right then for that and take it down to him. So it's not a loss for them, and it gives the recipient a chance to spend those where they want, and it's also ensuring that your dollars are spent here locally. So there's Mother's Day coming up also. So we've got teacher appreciation. So don't forget those teachers because even though their school year got cut short, they are still doing what they can to educate your children. I think that is about all I have today. We appreciate all your support, and we hope that you will continue to support our local businesses downtown and around town because not only our, Main Street represents small business, not just our downtown. So thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. And again, just as she said, just got to keep spending our money in independence. Our last two speakers are going to be talking about COVID-19, an update from the state and how that is affecting us in our community. So our first speaker that will be covering some of the changes that are happening during the different phases and how that will affect all of us as citizens in our community will be our mayor. So at this time, would you please welcome Leonard Kaflish.
Thank you, Lisa. We're all excited to finally see directions so we'll know what to expect from the governor. At this time, the county commission is meeting to review any additional modifications. According to the guidelines that the county and the city cannot lessen the restrictions that the governor has issued, but they can incur more stringent requirements. So we're just trying to wait to see what the county decides on what will actually be the final package. Then the commission is going to meet at 5:30 this evening so that we can discuss both the state and the county directions. It is exciting, though, to see that restaurants and retail will be opening May 4th. There are guidelines that are being issued for maintaining social distancing between the groups, but it's really pretty simple. A gathering of less than 10, so 9 friends can come together in a restaurant and sit at a table and have a meal, and the closest adjacent table would be 6 feet. So while we're all getting excited, the restaurant owners are now getting busy setting up dining halls and also preparing to sanitize and provide anticipated reopening. I think that from seeing the guidelines and listening to the restaurant owners express their interest and their concerns, I think everybody's going to be able to go back in with confidence to know that all of our concerns are being taken care of by the owners. They're being prepared, training the staff and the employees with any requirements, additional training, so that we can just go in and be back enjoying the service and the food that we've so enjoyed for so many years. Recreation is a little different. The gyms will not be opening until phase 2, which will take place May 19th. Bars, nightclubs will be at 50% capacity at phase 2. During phase 1, they will not be allowed to open. But as we go into our restaurants, we need to be prepared that as the number of occupants will reduce, how this affects our restaurant owners. And the businesses depend upon us coming in, eating, and then also enjoying the time, but not occupying a space all day for a meal, that they have to operate with a turnover of the tables. So as we go in, we need to respect the owners. We enjoy their service, we enjoy the meal, we don't have to rush, but be respectful that when we're done, we go on. Find other places that we can gather together and enjoy. There's discussion about maybe adding some seating outside. We've got benches downtown. The little gazebo at 6th and Myrtle. Enjoy walking down through the town. Celebration Park. But we want to encourage everyone to not be afraid to go in and enjoy your meal. Responsibility is ours. If you feel uncomfortable, take your hand sanitizer, wear a mask. Don't stay back in fear, but just use caution so that we can see a return to the activity downtown and support our businesses. I know through this there's been a lot of fear of going out in public, and even the numbers have been kind of frightening. Of one place where we shouldn't be concerned is going to our healthcare providers, but they have noticed that during this time a reduction of visits. All of our providers have taken extra precautions to guarantee our safety, so we shouldn't, if we're not feeling good, chest pains, other conditions, call your provider, go to the ER. I know for our ambulance service, I've talked to David, and he's explained the process that the fire EMS go through. After each call, they sanitize all the equipment, the vehicles, they change their protective gear, they change clothes. So, everybody from coming to your house to assist you to get to an extended care, to the extended care, to your local providers, they've all taken precautions to provide us the safety that we need to stop the spread of the COVID-19. So I want to encourage everyone to not hesitate, but to go out and patronize our local restaurants. Remember the good times we had, the good food. It's just so many choices that we have here in Independence, and it's time that we be cautious and safe, but relax and enjoy. So I thank you, Lisa, for allowing me to come and address the citizens and encourage them to go back to a semi-normal lifestyle.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to echo that. We all need to be good customers when we go out and about in Independence, eating in all the restaurants, and extend a little grace too, because this is a new normal for all of them as they work to try to figure out how to handle some of the new guidelines that are coming down from the state. So speaking of the state, we have our state representative here, Independence's very own Jim Kelly, who is getting information all the time from Topeka and at a national level, and he works very, very hard to share that information with all of us on our morning calls, and he is here with us this afternoon. So would you please welcome our representative, Jim Kelly.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa, and I brought with me my newest accessory that I carry with me all the time, my mask, and I would suggest that you do that too through phase 1 and phase 2 as we go out around, and especially with the thought that as we move towards the fall, COVID could be back, and it may not be as bad. It could be worse. It just depends on what happens. It's unknown. So as we go forward, I think all the things that I have picked up listening to the governor's press conferences with Dr. Norman, and Dr. Norman is the chief medical officer for Kansas, and if you have seen him, I think we're pretty lucky to have him in Kansas, because I do believe we were out in front on some things that there's a lot of people that didn't like, but I think if you look back on it, that's probably why we've had some better numbers in a lot of our counties. So last night was a big night. The governor announced her plan. It's either a 3 or 4 phase plan, depending on how you look at it. And I can also see, as I see the little monitor in front of us, that my hair is as long as it's been probably since back not too far out of college. So there's parts of it that I'm ready to open up. Parts of our things we're ready to open up. But this order that came out is, of course, everything. And I was on a call this morning with the House members and with that included our Attorney General, our own local Derek Smith, and it was pretty well pointed out that there are no ground rules, there is no case law, there is nothing out there to say how you get out of this, how you wind out of these executive orders, and what you do. So everyone is heading into a new normal with kind of by the seat of their pants is what it's going on. In the call this morning, the Attorney General indicated that they're still dissecting the plan that came out last night, but it is much less restrictive in some areas and more restrictive in some others. And, the one thing that's been eliminated, there's not a list of exempted activities and not a list that says churches can have 10 people attending. It's more done by occupation size now, and that's going to be sometimes harder to determine the amount of people in an area because you have to figure those type of things out. One thing the Attorney General pointed out, that a lot of things in the plan that are listed are guidelines, they're not enforceable, that counties and cities can overrule those guidelines if they want something more stringent, and he indicated that Johnson County is going to extend their stay-at-home order another week past May the 4th. And the other thing that was pointed out for us is the fact that when you look at if you're going to go from county to county around the state, the county next to you could have entirely different rules and regulations than Montgomery County has. And so in their county, no county could come out and say barber shops and beauty shops can be open in phase 1 because they cannot be less restrictive than the governor's plan. But they could say that restaurants cannot have a salad bar, or they cannot have a buffet or whatever. They can be more restrictive because that was all gray area. I think that another thing that was pointed out for us to remember is guidance is not legal. It's not a legal requirement, but other parts of the legislation and the local rules or the plan does have enforcement authority. If you pack an assembly building and don't adhere to the spacing guidelines and all, that is a Class A misdemeanor. And on local ordinances, it's either an undesignated or a Class C misdemeanor. So it could be enforced. Probably it would depend, I think, on the common sense. And I think in our county we have common sense as far as law enforcement that would take into account the situation and deal with everything on an individual basis. But it's just the thought that from what I picked up in the call this morning that included the Attorney General is that these are serious guidelines or serious requirements that are coming out from the governor and from the local units of government, and that there is some law enforcement behind it that could be done. And if we want to move to phase 2 and phase 3, we've got to pay attention to these, because any phase 1 in the governor's plan is set to expire May 14th. If people are out roaming around, not paying attention to anything, and our numbers start kicking back up, we could go back to a stay-at-home order. And so I think everything this requires on good common sense of our public, and it requires on the good common sense of businesses and organizations, churches, everyone, to take the common good of everyone else and keep that in mind, because if it spreads, we're back probably under a shutdown. So we got to do that, and we got to always be vigilant with our mask and with our sanitation and with our handshaking and watching all of that, because the virus, just because the order goes off, is still there, and it can still be spread, and it may be dying down in the warm weather, but it could pick back up in the cold weather. The one thing in the governor's plan, essential businesses, they're not specified quite like they were last time, so that gets kind of down into a county and a local order, what those individual counties to do. The stay-at-home order itself sunsets on Sunday, so when we go into Monday, the stay-at-home order's off, but all of these other phase 1 requirements are in based on the governor and the city and the county. Under the stay-at-home order, the cities and counties had no say in what they could do. They couldn't make it more stringent if they wanted to. That was the plan. Now that we have the stay-at-home order off, the cities and counties can weigh in, and as the mayor mentioned, that's being done right now on the county level with the county plan. So it's I think I took nothing away from the call this morning and from some other calls that I've been on, and one coming up at 3:30, is that we are in a learning curve right now. And to go to the new normal, we're going to look at a learning curve as the cities and the counties and our business establishments decide how they can comply, be within the guidelines and the rules on phase 1 and phase 2. And the general public themselves needs to pay attention to the guidelines under each phase so that we can move to the next one. And a lot of this will be subject to interpretation, and unfortunately, some of the digging out into the weeds on this probably won't be available Monday. It's probably going to come out over the next days as the Attorney General's office and others dig into the what exactly does this mean? What exactly does that mean? How many can be in a place at one time? How many have to be separated? In the governor's plan, the family exemption is still there, so just like it was in the other. So I would ask for your patience with our local and city authorities and with our merchants as they try to go through this. And as I find out more, I will feed it to the city and county as to what interpretations I've come in up with, and I think the League of Cities and the Association of Counties will probably be doing the same thing, as will the various business organizations will be feeding information to their membership, and it will line out, and I think it'll hopefully we transition smoothly from 1 to 2 to 3, and by mid-June we are back as close to the old normal as we can get. But again, I say I think it will be a long time before old normal reappears, if ever, and we will be operating with an intensified sense of the cleanliness, the distancing, and those type of things that will be necessary to keep this from reoccurring in our communities and in Kansas. So I would express my appreciation to Lisa for inviting me here today, and I want to express my appreciation to the City of Independence for asking me to be a part of their task force. I think the task force has been a great experience, and I think the members of our community, if they knew the effort that these city leaders and chamber and Main Street leaders are putting in, you would be impressed, and I think we should be thankful that Independence has made this effort to work through the details, get the most information possible out, and to get our city back into operation, and I thank them for that. And thank you for letting me be a part of this again.
Thank you very much. Kelly, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do, Lisa. Is it still recommended that church services should continue outside in a parking lot, or can they resume on phase 2?
Who would like to answer that question? Do you want to do that, Jim?
I can give it a try.
Okay.
From my understanding, and this is the gray area, but my understanding is that church services could resume even under phase 1, but it would have all the spacing guidelines, and your occupancy that you could have would be determined about figuring the space in the sanctuary or the worship area, wherever it would be, and figuring out how many people could you get in based on that separation. Family units could sit together from the way that I understand it, but if I came in to a pew in a church that had 3 members of a family in it sitting together, I would have to be 6 feet to the side of them. And if someone else came in to that same pew, they would have to be 6 feet to the side of them. So the spacing, the way that I understand it after one day, and a lot of that will probably be cleared up, is that you could resume under phase 1 with the spacing requirements. And you could never have more than 9 people. If you had a large family of 15 people, it would probably be advisable, even though that's a family unit, to spread it out into 2 groups of 1 of 9 and 1 of 6, just to be so. That is what I think you need to comply with all the sanitation guidelines. I would suggest wearing masks. I would suggest the hand sanitizer, no shaking hands, anything like that still in phase 1. I think maybe I've given up shaking hands for the rest of my lifetime. just from this. But I think in phase 2, I am not sure there's much difference in phase 1 and 2 for churches. I mean, there is, I don't know, and I didn't look far enough to see whether no more than 10. I think phase 2 went to 25 or 30, and so that may be that you could have certain activities that you do that you could have 25 or 30 people there, and it's not a mass gathering, but over that it is. So I think they could resume, not this Sunday, but next week, but it would require some real calculations, and that would be another one that, not the fact that you're doing religious services, but there are the guidelines that you and everyone else has to comply with. And on the religious services, there isn't a different guideline for the church than a retail store. They all have to go on their spacing. And you would look at a big box store, probably more people in because they can do the separation and they have the square footage. So it'll take some calculations, I think, but I think you can resume your worship service, although I don't know. I mean, I'd say on my personal level, I don't know that I would be comfortable with it because I know we'll have air conditioning going, and air conditioning is circulating inside air, and so you're circulating germs. So it'll take me personally, I think, a little time to get back to a comfort level to do some things that I previously did without thought before. But I think there's much more leniency now as far as gatherings, and that's just the off-the-cuff guideline from listening to a couple conference calls today. And like I said, I think as next week moves forward, we will hear more coming out.
Thank you. Kelly?
Jim, this next one kind of follows off some of that you touched on. They want to know why we need a new normal.
Well, common sense would tell you we need a new normal because COVID is not something that until we get a vaccine, a good vaccine is probably going to go away. So in my mind, and this is me, my new normal is probably not shaking hands, keeping a separation, and carrying a bottle of hand sanitizer with me, and being very aware of where I'm going and what I'm touching. And I don't know that I will be alone with that. I think you'll see businesses, if you talk about the new normal, I think you'll see a lot more cleaning of work surfaces, a lot more cleaning of door handles where people come in, just a lot more attention. I think you'll see maybe food service workers wearing masks where they did not do it before. But me personally, if I go in to a restaurant and the servers are not wearing masks and some of the workers are not wearing masks and there's a fair crowd, I may think twice about going in and sitting down. I may decide to take the curbside service if it's still available. So I think the new normal is there. What I call a new normal is because people have changed in this 6 weeks of lockdown, and all of the COVID spread and the way that it spread from person to person has made everyone more aware of their surroundings and how they are going to behave in the future. Normal may come back, but I don't think normal will come back for a while.
Thank you, Jim. We also had a question from Linda. If a small town that is doing very well and being responsible decides to open things back up, will they somehow be putting restrictions in place to prevent people from pouring into town? People will flock to things when they are open, drive miles and miles to go out to dinner again, see a movie again, drink in a bar again. And what will happen? That town that managed things well and responsible will get a massive spike as people from outside that town bring it with them. These are factors I don't think everyone includes when they weigh opening up some areas versus others.
Well, I'll tackle that on my thought. We know that right now, until June 15th, unless it's extended, no town can do less than what the governor calls for. So if the governor's plan, they choose to have the governor's plan as their guide and do nothing else, they cannot loosen up things in their town. If the city or the town want to do something and put in place, like our county and most other counties will do, they cannot go any less restrictive than the governor. They can go more restrictive, but not less. So that town, there aren't going to be as many towns around in the state of Kansas that are going to be able to do this. Doesn't mean across the state line they won't be able to, but I think until all of the phases go out and things open back up, every town in Kansas, every county is operating under some guidelines that they cannot go less than. They can only go more than. So I think for a while that won't happen.
Thank you. Had another question from Becky. When can we cross state lines to visit relatives?
Well, as far as state lines, that's where, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have to know what the other state is doing. We're not on a stay-at-home order anymore, so in my mind, that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't leave the state. But if Oklahoma or Texas or whatever state your relatives are in, if they're still on a lockdown, you can't go there. Right now under phase 1, 2, and until sometime in phase 3, I think long-term care facilities are still restricted on having visitors come into it. So, your town could be open for that period to do some things, but long-term care facilities could still be on a shutdown. So you have to know what's going on in a city that you want to go to, or a county you want to go to, or a state you want to go to, I believe, in order to know, can you visit your relatives or not?
Thank you. Tabitha, we had a question how people can donate to your gift certificate program.
You can call our office at 620-331-2300, or you can mail your donation to P.O. Box 611. And you can make it, we are a 501c3, so we can give you a receipt for that and just make it out to Independence Main Street, and Indy gives back in the memo, so we can make sure it goes to the right, donation box there.
Thank you. Had a comment from Jerry saying that phase 1 says no unnecessary travel. So just noting that. We have someone asking to repeat the guidelines, and what I'll do is I'll post the link to that so that they can read those.
Okay.
And so other than that, I don't have any additional questions on here.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate all of those questions. We appreciate the community involvement in live streaming. I checked my phone when I sat down, and apparently I have a lot of friends watching because it kept saying, we can't hear you, we can't hear you. But we're glad that we were able to start again and that everyone can enjoy First Friday. So I'm going to wrap it up and just remind everyone to make sure that you give thoughtful consideration to shopping local. Keep that in the forefront of your minds as you're out doing your shopping. Be sure to say thank you to our frontline workers as they are still, out there providing great services to us. So be thankful for them and express that to them, please. Shop local, eat out. Do curbside if you're not comfortable going inside. That is still an option. Do curbside, do takeout. Jim said his hair is getting long, and My hair getting long is just fine. It's those platinum highlights that are starting to show up in my hair, so that I'm a little concerned about. But we know that our barber shops and our salons and our nail salons are not able to open, and that's a real concern of those small business owners and those employees that work there. So be mindful of that too. If there are ways that you can reach out to them and extend some type of, maybe you're buying a gift certificate from them right now that you can use later on. Pay for your haircut now, or your nails or whatever, and they have those dollars to help pay their own bills right now, and then you can get those services done later on. But we know that that is a concern of all of those that I just mentioned. So we're going to shop local, but we're going to go get our hair cut and colored and curled and whatever we can work in, and get our nails done and every other kind of nice service, so we can put some money back in their pockets. Remember to practice great hygiene. Take your hand sanitizer with you. Step away from the mic. I keep these in my car. I have both of these items. Keep them with you. As Jim said, keep your mask with you. Protect yourself, protect those around you, and we're going to make it through the pandemic. We'll be on the other side with our new normal, whatever that is. And I encourage everyone to get out, enjoy the sunshine this weekend, and keep your social distancing. And on Monday, when things open up, go out and enjoy our small businesses and independents. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.